The following transmission contains unencrypted instances of explicit language. Mature audiences are cleared to proceed.
Welcome back. In part 1 of our Atomic Blonde analysis, we set up all the factions and minor characters involved in the story. We carefully studied all of their win conditions and how they're approaching the situation. Did that episode get past you? You might want to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so that you can always stay caught up with us.
That said, if you just want to jump in here with us, here's the super quick recap. Everyone in Berlin wants to get their hands on something called the List, and our heroine Lorraine has been sent in by MI6 to grab it if she can. Why doesn't MI6 trust their current asset, Percival, to do this job himself? We're going to figure it out in this episode of Spies Like Us. So, David, I've mentioned a few times to you that Percival, I feel like, keeps showing up as a name that's attached to spy movies and spy fiction. Here's what I was able to find. There's a book called The Percival Mosaic, which involves, and Percival, same name, just different spelling, which I believe involves, the Percival character is like an important, like, double agent. In the company, the rumor of the mole that turned out to be Kim Philby was codenamed within MI6. They referred to him as Percival.
Oh, okay.
There's a Percival in Kingsman,
right?
A spy movie.
Well, they're all named after King Arthur characters, but yeah, there is a Percival.
Well, yeah, right. And of course, the Percival in that movie is not a double agent.
No.
Right.
And Percival in the King Arthur lore is not a double agent.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, he's the one that finds the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so weird. But
but the watch is like the Holy Grail, right?
Well, Percival does find. Well, he's not the first person to find it, but yeah. And you know what? That's what I used to call MacGuffins. See, even before I ever heard like MacGuffin theory explained to me, I had my own personal name for it. I called them Grail movies. Grail was my personal word that I came up with for MacGuffin. Okay. When I noticed that some movies, again, like just to have this structure of like, if the good guys end up with the Grail, they win. If the bad guys end up with the Grail, they win. Right. But the Grail is actually not really important to the story except to give people stuff to do. So right. I don't know if there's that much there, but there's another novel called Eye of the Needle that has a guy named Percival as a spy. Ready Player One, the book and the movie, Percival is this mysterious online character that assists the hero in like trying to unravel whatever the fuck mystery that's supposed to be about.
Finding the Grail.
Right. Yeah. Finding the Grail, exactly. And obviously Atomic Blonde's got a Percival.
He's both a double agent and the one trying to find the Grail. That's really interesting.
So that's 6. That's 6 I can find. I'm so annoyed that I can't find any kind of historical reference to like why, but maybe it just takes one. Like maybe like, for instance, like the Percival Mosaic, unbeknownst to us, is like such an influential like book that like, everyone that's into spy novel history like keeps like kind of putting that in as like their own little Easter egg, like a little wink.
I wouldn't be surprised, especially since it was mentioned in the company.
But this Percival, the more times I watch the movie, the more I really, really like McAvoy's performance. And I only know him from 2 roles. I only know him as Professor X and as David Percival, which are entirely different characters.
Absolutely.
And I think he did a fucking great job in both of them. I'm not maybe talking like super top shelf acting, but really enjoyable. Someone said, sometimes God just likes to wind up a human Wolverine and set it down on Earth as a prank. That's how I feel about the David Percival character in Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. Well, I think you compared him to K-pop from when we did Samurai Spy. That like he just wants to be the guy. He loves the game.
every time we see someone make this kind of play in a movie or in a story, we're always going to refer to it as the K-pop play.
Yeah, the K-pop.
We have to explain that really quick, though.
Right now. For those of you who haven't heard the Samurai Spy episode, if you like ninjas and spy movies, you should go see Samurai Spy. And also you should listen to our podcast episode, because we call this one, who's I guess the secret villain, that's a big deal at the end. We call him K-pop because of his haircut. That guy wasn't trying to gain information for money. He wasn't trying to gain information for like duty or loyalty. He wasn't trying to gain it for justice. He wasn't trying to gain it for self-preservation. He was just trying to gain it for being the guy. He just wanted to be the guy that held the power in his hand. And I
knew
think
all the secrets of everyone on all sides, and they would all have to come from him. He'd be a puppet master.
Right, exactly. And I think you made a really good allusion to that with the Percival character, because that's exactly his motivation, is that he really just wants to play the game. Like, he loves the game. And really, what really defines that part of him is his quote of Machiavelli, where he's just like, the deceiving of the deceiver is double the pleasure. And then, Lorraine's like, oh, Machiavelli, he was on your bookshelf. Oh my God, I think I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, his lines are so good, and some of them they just get better on rewatching. Like, I give you a really simple example. Is like, fuck, Russians are heavy.
Yeah.
It's just like in a few words. As he's dragging this body out of the car crash or whatever, like, it just tells you, like, this is not the first fucking Russian corpse that I've had to drag.
Yeah, I know,
Probably
right?
not the second, I really like that delicious little bit, too, about, like, in the briefing, when they do raise some slight concerns about Percival, they say specifically it's something like, without the cover of the embassy, Percival has gone a bit native. And, like, someone else says more like rabid.
Right.
So this is a guy that's been, like we said, like, he's the station head
of
in
Berlin.
This idea that since the Iron Curtain came down, and he no longer has, the diplomatic cover that he used to enjoy, and with Berlin just seeming to be like plunging into this weird kind of anarchic punk mentality chaos, that he's gotten mixed up in it. Like, he really just, if I get a chance, that I don't think they'll ever make the movie, but I think that prequel story that supposedly is the second graphic novel in the series, that is just all about him. Like, I'm definitely into it. I'll read the fuck out of that.
Like I said, I'm definitely buying the comics. The fact that it's a more Luc Besson type of thing, and she's not blonde, I was already sold on that.
I like his cast. He uses his cast in a bunch of fun ways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a neat prop just for a character, too, with his scruffiness, and it just having the cast just makes it look like, this guy's been in some shit, We don't think he broke his arm, skiing in the Alpines, parasailing in Brazil,
right?
Like, this is a scrapper, but
there's a lot that develops that character. There's scenes with him like in the gritty underground, of the streets with the street punks and stuff like that. I like that a lot.
But he does a lot with the cast, and also the cast, it's fake.
Yeah.
Or at least, because she finds it sitting there on the, and you don't just slip your arm out of those things. You got to get them cut off, right?
Right,
but,
exactly.
He beats the shit out of some East Berlin cops with it.
Yeah.
When he tackles Bakhtin, that's where he has concealed his little knife inside there. And
Uh-huh.
that's also where he was carrying his little transmitter.
Yep.
So, um, plus spy points for you, Percival. You are using a cast as kind of a like low tech spy gadget in
Yep.
a way that I dig. I dig.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I got some thoughts to say too about though, like the way that he gets back and forth from East and West Berlin, which is to say, the first time we see it, well, maybe he's got some cops on his tail, but you know the part I'm talking about? He goes right up to the wall, drives, apparently like lights a cop car on fire.
Right. And he has to go through great measures to get there. And he has like a secret tunnel that he can get through.
Right. And all I'm saying is, like, if this is his day-to-day way of getting back and forth, like, this is not going to fly. This is pretty fucking elaborate.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely like his ace in his hole to get across the border. So he's not really gonna like use it very often unless he has to.
I think he's lying to Lorraine when he says this whole plan of how to get Spyglass across, it doesn't match up with what he potentially could have done. Because he says, like, she says, well, driving across the checkpoint isn't that hard. He says, well, yes, it is when everyone's looking for Spyglass. But two things. First of all, when him and Lorraine want to go from West to East Berlin to prepare to extract Spyglass, they just walk through a tunnel. No muss, no fuss.
Right.
Why don't you just take Spyglass back through the tunnel? Come on.
Right.
And also, it's proven that driving across the checkpoint is that easy, because even after she loses Spyglass, Bill Skarsgård just fucking flashes his ambassador passport.
Right.
One and done.
He was planning on killing Spyglass, right? So that's probably why he was trying to convince her to use his plan.
Yeah, he's making it unnecessarily complicated for good reasons.
Yeah.
And he's done pretty good job too of keeping her distracted. I feel like there's a lot of places where she just could have followed her own leads, to get Bactine or the watch or whatever, and he just kind of delays her, by saying, like, well, there's not much we can really do about it.
Yeah.
It's I feel like it's kind of annoyingly easy that he keeps her kind of from following up on shit that she should follow up on. But I'll give it best number 3 personally. That he just kind of keeps her distracted and not on point. His win conditions changed a little bit through the thing. Okay, he's lost the watch, but he's got his hands on the other copy, which is Spyglass's memory, and he agrees he's going to get Spyglass across to West Berlin. Which, by the way, I guess like maybe he should have been making more moves to just fucking do that.
Right.
But when he does get an opportunity to get his hands on the watch, now his win condition changes where he's got a different copy of the list, and now he gets the max points for destroying the other copy, so no one else can have it. And presumably no one knows that he's got the primary copy. There's several things in the movie that I feel want to suggest to us that he's made his decision to throw Lorraine under the bus, like, from the get-go.
Well, that's what she claims, that she had been made like super early, but
we know it's not him that dropped the dime on her at the airport sequence, because it honestly seems like he fucked up and failed to make the connection to pick her up. And also, if that's his intention, he's got no reason to rescue her, basically.
Right.
She intimates that he dropped the dime on her when she visited Gascoigne's apartment. That's possible. That's also goes back to something that potentially LaSalle could have known, which could have been what she whispered to Lorraine. I'm not sure when he makes the decision to betray Lorraine, except until he gets the watch. At that point, he's got a clear motivation, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's when he figures out that she's sexual. So that's kind of what you would see. Like, he doesn't strike me as someone that's trying to do the good duty. So that's something that kind of bothered me. Like, him finding out she's satchel isn't like, he just loves the game. So why would that be a reason for him to throw her under the bus? I think him throwing her under the bus is because she's his I guess equal, or like a threat to him.
Plausible, very plausible.
Yeah, I really think he just wants the watch to play the game, and that's all he's really after.
If he did plant a bug in her coat, that seems to be, I mean, there is a point where when she visits his hideout, he asks, can I take your coat? She consents. He does walk into the other room with it, but he's back in about 6 seconds, which doesn't seem like enough time to me.
Right.
Like, if I was on like quality control in the movie, I'm sure I would have been annoying as fuck, and I'm sure they would have like fired me on the second day because I would be complaining about everything.
Yeah.
But if I'd made it to that point, it's one of those things I would be like leaning up against the director and saying like, hey, like 6 seconds doesn't seem like enough time for him to, unstitch,
right,
a seam in her jacket and plant a UHF receiver. And also, how does she? That thing is kind of bulky. I don't see that thing really like.
Those type of devices would have been pretty bulky and heavy, so she would have noticed the weight of her coat changing and probably banging against the back of her neck.
All this aside, I mean, he does cock up the plan. She goes along with it. Although, I mean, it's to her credit, she makes her little side backup plans. Right. He gets some hot spy points for bringing the family into the situation as a surprise. That's my number one best. It is a surprise twist to the plan that is on its face kind of inarguable. There's no way.
Yeah, it's his wife and his kid. It's part of the deal. I get my family across the border. Right.
It makes sense, and she doesn't have the option of saying like, nah, this is no, we're aborting.
Right.
But it gives her, it splits them up because, according to their original plan, they would have been together. So he wouldn't have had an opportunity to do his own little funky business.
Right. Exactly.
So, and, this whole idea, like, okay, I'll get the mom and kid across and you take care of Spyglass. It's also tempting to her because like that leaves her alone with the person that she with the package,
right?
And so if she's suspecting him, she might be reasonably like thinking like, okay, this is actually beneficial. Percival will be busy doing something else,
right?
On the other hand, though, she gets the plus spy points because she also makes a wrinkle in the plan, which is like bringing the black umbrellas and not telling him about it.
Right, which in that whole demonstration was set up by Skarsgård, because she was asking him on the rooftop, like, what kind of groups can you get to show up? So the whole protest was set up by Skarsgård.
Oh, right. I didn't catch that because he talked about it being a tinderbox. Yep.
And then so that's how they got everybody to have the umbrellas. So it's not just some like weird cinematic thing to look cool. And the umbrellas are what protects them from the snipers. She probably didn't know there were going to be snipers, but she probably assumed there might be. And so the whole point of the umbrellas was to protect her and the package, which was Spyglass. And so that made my number one best tradecraft. I loved the umbrellas.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's probably
that's literally like the piece of equipment that fuels the entire Hong Kong protests. Black umbrellas.
Oh yeah. And it's a really really good play. I wonder if they got that from Atomic Blonde.
Huh. That'd be interesting. I would, yeah. Let's look that up just for funsies. Not going to do it for this podcast, but just for funsies. Let's go ahead and research. We could put it in Facebook post or something if we find out like who came up with that tactic, because it's a really good one.
I don't know if there's any cases of it actually being used, but I think it would help.
Sure.
Yeah, if you had that many people with umbrellas.
And of course, this whole plan involves them, pulling some sneaky shit off in Alexanderplatz under cover of a demonstration. Have we done that in a movie recently? Oh yeah, Born Supremacy. Way back.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a good play.
Speaking of which, I just wanted to note real quick, like in my memory, this movie drew a lot more from Bourne than I think it actually does when I watch it again today. I still think Bourne is a really, really important, critical ingredient for making movies like this possible.
Uh-huh.
But this movie really doesn't borrow nearly as much from Bourne as I thought it did. And one thing I really appreciate, I wish we'd mentioned this up at the top, but like Bourne fights are like so like quick cut,
right?
Like where
right.
Who knows what's actually fucking happening. It just feels good, and it felt great, and it's really exciting to watch. But like this is like such like action scene wise, like this is so like the opposite.
Yeah.
Where you really get to see what the talents of the stuntmen and the martial artists and the choreography.
Probably the best fight scene ever. There was one quibble I had when she's in the elevator. She has her pistol, and there's some guys at the top that have their pistols, and I don't think she ever actually gets to fire a shot or doesn't fire very many. And then they get into like a physical fist fight. A bunch of stuff happens. She like wins. And then her next step is to go into their bag, and she finds like an assault rifle that she can't assemble. It's like broken or something. I'm not sure. But that was one of your favorite action moves when she...
Oh, right, because she doesn't use it.
Right, she uses the butt of the gun to the guy's neck.
They didn't use it.
Right. But there was a bunch of pistols up there, and I'm not... And some of them would have had extra magazines. I don't know why she just was like, okay, let me just take this rifle, and it really was cool that she used the butt of the rifle to hit the guy in the throat, but she had a pistol there that has dropped.
Okay. And I do want to take that opportunity to segue into her use of improvised weapons.
That's actually going to be my number 3 best tradecraft, was her improvised weapons. Like, I'd said at the beginning of or last week's podcast, I had mentioned that from all of the action, it's the entire movie. I'm not saying this is like absolutely perfect, realistic fighting, but I want to say it's like the best attempt at it. There were some things like her jumping out and holding the rope at the third balcony with holding the rope with one hand. Like her shoulder probably would have been dislocated from that jar, I guess. I don't know. But what bugs...
hey, Tom Cruise gets to do that shit all the time and nobody complains.
I do. I do all the fucking time.
Okay,
I hate that shit.
Okay.
No, what I loved is how realistic the situations were. And she was up against a lot of bigger guys that were probably just as experienced and just as trained as she was. And her use of improvised weapons were fucking fantastic. Like she was so aware of stuff around her, and she was able to use it. And it wasn't like silly. It was like shit that would be there. Like there's the like hot plate that she hits the dude in the knee with.
Don't forget about the freezer door.
There's the freezer door.
I love that one.
There's the ladder. There's the keys. There's
the keys were dope too, and she like, rifled the moviegoers' pockets to get her hands on those.
Dude, it's just like endless.
What about? Well, I mean, there's the fucking shoe.
Yeah.
right at the beginning of the movie.
At the beginning of the movie, yeah, she pulls her shoe off. Like she makes it look like she's just adjusting her shoe, and then she pulls her like stiletto and starts like hitting the dude up.
Right.
And,
she just got off a plane, so she can't be packing.
Right. Exactly.
Unless they have some kind of secret like arrangement with the, whatever they call the TSA in Berlin in 1989. Right.
Or whatever it is, but yeah.
What about there's 2 points in the movie where she fixes her pistol in her hand in a certain way, like with the barrel facing back toward her elbow, so that she can use that as a cudgel.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's a lot of little stuff like that she has a lot of like, I guess, spatial awareness and things that are around her that she utilizes for her situation. Like the beginning of the movie, they were saying like she's an expert at evasion and escape. She's proficient at intelligence gathering, and she really like, I think the movie did a lot of justice as far as what someone of her build and experience could pull off and be on top, rather than just assume she's just going to win. Like she I believe she won versus
right.
like,
yeah. That she earned it.
Right. Right.
Instead of like, in the old like kung fu movies, which I love,
right.
Like they just do magical shit.
Right.
Right. And in so many of like, the 80s movies or whatever, like if you want the woman to kick ass, like you just fucking have her kick ass and just never mind the fact that, the guy is like 8 inches taller and has like a 5-inch reach advantage and like a fucking maybe like a 70-pound weight advantage over her.
Yeah.
Just never mind that. But this feels really good, and like I just want to use the word earned.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
like I love the fact like when Charlize Theron and what's his name, Mad Max in the most recent one.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, when they square off and they have their fucking fight, they go ahead, they give him a massive liability, which is that he's carrying around a, unconscious guy that he's handcuffed to through a car door.
Yeah, right?
And I feel like by doing that, it's so, it warms my heart. It literally does, because I want to see women kick ass, but I don't want them to just get it for free. There's a reason they don't put flyweight UFC fighters, women fighters, against heavyweight male UFC fighters.
Right, exactly.
Because they would just fucking lose.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No matter how good Shevchenko is,
right.
She just can't win that fight.
Right. She's not going to beat Cormier. Like, I don't care how hard she hits, she's not going to break that jaw of his,
Mm-hmm.
Even if we give the assumption, like you do in a lot of action films, like our hero is obviously just better at fighting than the bad guys, right? It's going to come down to strategies. And that's why I wanted to bring up improvised weapons, because there were so many moments where she needed an improvised weapon. And that really made it for me as far as the action. And that last action scene was like phenomenal, because people get tired, people get dizzy, people get hurt, people are fucking bleeding, it's so I really, really enjoyed it. So that's my piece on that.
Let's back up and review win conditions for Lorraine for a second. Throughout 95% of the movie, until we get to the end, we don't have any reason to think she's got any other win condition except the one that matches MI6, which is like who she's ostensibly working for.
Right.
Right? like a lot of people, like I said, like if they get one copy of the list, and if someone else has a copy of the list, whatever, we're both in the winner's circle. It's not a massive victory, but you're still a winner if you have one copy of the list at least.
Right.
But more than anybody else, she needs both copies of the list.
Right.
And that's assuming, which I do feel like assuming, are you with me on this, that she knows that the list would expose her as Satchel?
Right.
I think that is, it's never said, but I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm peeved that she acts like just getting Spyglass out of East Berlin would be a win for her, because it actually wouldn't be. She still needs the watch. She doesn't know that Percival has the watch, so it's a case of her like taking her eye off the ball again. But again, like I said, like, and to me, it all keeps coming back to like the story and the plot just seems to be written by different people. Like people pay attention to characters, pay attention to things for just as long as, I don't know, it seems convenient for the director. And then the moment that the director wants to like show us some other spy stuff, they just conveniently just forget about it.
Right.
I did not like the fact that earlier in the movie she says that she needs to know what the Russians know, and that's why she follows up on the card and goes to meet Bremovich. She gets interrupted in that conversation by LaSalle, and that's fine. But if 2 seconds earlier she needed to find out what the Russians know, why does she no longer need to know what the Russians know? You just got interrupted by like just this one random French chick, in the conversation of what you're doing. Why do you not swing around for another bite at the apple? Why don't you go? And again, you're supposed to be working for Bremovich. You should have better like methods of communicating with the guy or whatever. But it's just because looking back, the only reason movie-wise that she needed to have that scene with Bremovich in that cafe is so that she could get those recordings, which she later splices in to make it sound like Percival and Bremovich were working together on a much deeper level than they actually were.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying, though? Like, if at one moment you need to know something, and then it just suddenly becomes inconvenient for the movie to have you have that need, where does that need go?
Yeah. Not sure.
I mean, otherwise, I would have been positive spy points on, I needed to know what the Russians knew, right?
Right.
That seemed like a good play, but it's not what she's actually up to. She's actually not up to anything except just doing some weird movie, stupid spy shit. Annoying.
After killing Percival and pinning him as Satchel and winning the interrogation, I don't think the epilogue after that was necessary, other than revealing that she was working for the CIA the whole time.
Which we give major. I think it's our best number 2 for both of us is pinning Satchel on Percival. That's good shit.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about the interrogation. She's really playing the werewolf game really well between everybody, especially when you find out John Goodman knew that they were working together, and she's trying to convince C and who's the guy interrogating her?
Yeah, I just refer to him as big forehead MI6 superior.
But yeah, no, the way goes on about playing. There's question when they reveal. By the way, Percival called us that night and said that he had the list and that he knew who Satchel was. And there's like this big pause. It's obvious the whole interrogation started because they believe that she might be Satchel. And so her response is, well, why didn't anybody tell me? Like, she went through hell after that moment, up until from between that moment up until the interrogation, and nobody had told her. So her whole life had been in danger, as well as the spyglass, everybody, and she lost LaSalle, and so her response is, "Why didn't anybody tell me?" And so like there's a lot of little moments like that, and then her finally pinning Satchel on Percival, I think, was really good, because when she brings up that she killed Percival, they're like, "You killed an agent of the servant of the crown, and blah blah blah, and he was our top agent in Berlin, and blah blah blah." And she's just like, I did you a favor. He was a traitor, and he got what he deserved, a bullet in the head.
Right. Which for me, what I like about it is that, having seen the photographs that LaSalle left her, she
Right.
knows that she can sell this story.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Up until then, she doesn't have the ammunition to make it stick. But once she sees those pictures, she's like, "Oh yeah, I could definitely tell him anything I want." I got you meeting with the head of the KGB in Berlin, motherfucker.
Yep. And she doctored the recordings that she had from her bug to mash up things he said, where he was talking shit about MI6 people, like, "Oh, C is like an idiot," like,
Oh yeah, I love that she included that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As a movie goer, I'm super cool with the whole way that she splices the tape together. It's beautiful. But then when I put my thinking hat on it, I don't think it would actually fly. Like,
She would have to do some serious EQing and removing of background static and stuff, and it would have been possible, but she would have had to have been a sound recording expert. There's different stresses at times, the way people say things at times, but the background stuff you could probably remove, and the ability to do that back then was available, but you're talking about hefty machinery, and she would have to be an expert on sound recording, and have that machinery available to her. It's which she did, looking at the stuff she had, but it yeah, I'm definitely on Todd with this, that it's not really that believable.
so yeah, let's I know where I want to wrap it up. I got one more big complaint.
Yeah.
It's my worst, number 2, because I am a fan of the movie.
Uh-huh.
And it's probably just that I like it so much in the first place that I quibble so hard on this tradecraft. But this one is bad. So we're post, all the main events. Percival's dead. Apparently, like, she didn't give the list to MI6. Did give who fucking forgot all about that. But she wants to go to Paris and do an incredibly stupid thing, which is to meet with Bremovich, who, by the way, just wanted to meet with her the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
She gives him not the real watch, obviously, but a fake watch. And this just seems to be an opportunity for her to kill him,
Mm-hmm.
and also gloat about how stupid he is and how smart she is.
Yeah.
It's a really bad play. If you wanted to kill Bremovich, there are a million better ways than to walk into the dragon's lair and, where he's got all the advantage, and then just hope that things will work out. And this is one of those situations where, like, I don't mind when heroes in movies roll the dice big. if they have to, if they're forced into the situation. What I don't like is when the gamble, the risk reward is so out of kilter here. It really is, right?
I mean, I think it was just another opportunity for more action. This is where it's actually revealed that she was Satchel. You probably would have already figured it out by then, but it's explicitly stated, like, "Hello, Comrade Satchel."
Exposition, basically.
Right. But her going there, I don't know if it was there to kill him or if it was to get money for the watch or what the deal was. But obviously, Skarsgård was there with the hotel staff, which is how she would have gotten the gun in the ice, I guess.
Oh, good one, because I was wondering about that.
Yeah, because that was kind of like, well, where did this gun come from?
Yeah, it just materializes out of nowhere, right?
Right, and we get some weird quick shot at the end after she kills everybody that there's Skarsgård with hotel staff, which I presume they're there to clean up the bodies, or is it just literally there to tell us that's how the gun got on the ice? I don't know.
Right.
But
Well, hey, always have a team. By showing up with a fake watch is just like an opportunity to get close to him. Maybe.
that's true.
But it's still just such a stupidly huge like action hero gamble of the kind that I do not like to see in movies.
Right.
A long time ago, on working on the notes for this movie, at a certain point, I kind of gave up on trying to like push everything into the bale of hay and have nothing left sticking out. Like, there's always going to be something sticking out. I think, no matter how hard you try to analyze this movie.
Yeah.
Debriefing time.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's hit it.
Agents, please report for debriefing on this operation. The director will see you now.
I hope I haven't given a wrong impression about how much I like this movie based on how much I really kind of despise the plot holes. I mean, it's this was the brain-hurtiest movie to analyze as far as tradecraft of the plot that we've ever done. It really challenged me, and at some point, like, I just threw up my hands and said, "Fuck it," they're just making a movie, and the movie's just gonna do what it's gonna do.
Right.
At the core, though, it's a good story. It's a really good story. McAvoy versus Charlize Theron. It makes sense. They have a weird kind of like I like to think of this like they don't have chemistry. They have anti-chemistry.
Right.
Right? They have a really delicious anti-chemistry. They're like they're water and oil. They're fire and ice. And that felt really good. And it's thoroughly enjoyable to watch them. This movie is pure sex. The cigarette smoking, the soundtrack, the performances. Charlize is just fucking amazing. Yeah. And the fight scenes are fantastic, and all the just it's super enjoyable.
Yeah.
I am on a full on fucking hard on 4 for this one. I've seen better movies. I think if you don't want to think too hard about this one, it's hot. I'm a 4.
Well, and it gives you enough to think about, so there's stuff, even if you wanted to think about it, you could. Like, there's a lot you have to pay attention to. Like, I think a lot of that sex and sizzle you're talking about is what keeps, I guess, the mass audience's attention. But there's enough that's you only get certain pieces of information where you have to kind of put pieces of the puzzle together. Yeah. So, as a film, I really enjoyed it as well. I have trouble giving this one a 4 though. I really, really love this movie. I enjoyed watching it. It's a lot of fun, but considering my previous ratings, I have some issues giving it a 4. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5 on this. There's a lot of realistic fighting that I liked. And I think that's what really carries the film for me is the action was like much more realistic than general action films. There was a lot going on, but I'm definitely on board with Todd that the story was great, the soundtrack was great, the action was great, and it's just like this kind of discrepancy with the intelligence or the tradecraft or who's motivating who or being motivated to do what. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5 on this.
My best tradecraft for this movie. My number 3 is just Percival just generally keeping her distracted from what she should really be doing. I think it seemed easier than it should have been, but he pulled it off.
Right.
I forgot to mention too. I guess I just want to put a pin in on this. Lorraine just actually seems to brute force her way through a lot of problems rather than engaging in high-level mental games of spycraft.
Right.
Is that okay for me to say?
Yes. I mean, like they said at the beginning in her briefing, she's an expert at escape and evasion and proficient at intelligence gathering.
My number 2 best is the same as Dave's number 2, so I'll let him talk about that one. My number 1 best, I think, as I described before, I think Percival's play of bringing the family along as a surprise twist on the extraction mission. It makes so much sense, and it's something that it's very difficult to, like, it's kind of easy to understand, and it's hard to say no to, and it plays into his hands perfectly. That's my number 1 best. How about yours?
My number 3 was the improvised weapons that Lorraine uses throughout the whole film, and her being aware of her surroundings and being able to get her way out. My number 2, same as Todd's. It's the whole werewolf game that she played during the interrogation of her debriefing, and then just pinning Satchel on Percival, which kept her identity safe. Because we already went into depth on how great that was. But my number 1 absolutely was the umbrellas. I loved the umbrellas at the protest. Definitely created a problem for the snipers. My number 3 worst, I originally was not grabbing the pistol during the awesome action scene, but I upgraded it to the KGB not going after back team when he had the watch.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
He wasn't answering calls. Everybody knew he pretty much went rogue. I don't know why they didn't just go after him. They would have been the best group to go after to get the watch. My number 2 worst. Well, let me talk about my number 1 and my number 2. So it's the whole situation when LaSalle calls Percival and starts talking shit, provoking him to come kill her, which is my number 1 worst, which leads into my number 2 worst. She's already poked the dragon, and now she's just sitting
for
no reasons, and then is just walking around her apartment, packing her bag with headphones on, not paying attention to anything going on. Even as a newbie agent, she should have packed her bags and gotten the fucking out of Dodge. Those are my worst. Let's hear yours. You're clearly holding on to something.
Yeah, well, yeah. My number 1 worst is obviously the same as yours. LaSalle, it's just don't ever do that.
Yeah.
that's how you get choked to death.
Yeah.
And there was no profit in it. No, just nothing. My number 3. I really felt like the movie dropped the ball on, what happened to the list at the end. MI6, I understand they're very concerned about the whole, David Percival is Satchel kind of thing, but, you started the movie out being very concerned about the list, and at the end of the movie, we just never even find out, did they get it? Did they not?
Right.
I don't know. It's just tie a bow on that somehow movie, please. My number 2 worst is such a fucking tie for number 1, but number 1, like, you know, LaSalle, just stupidity, just had to be number 1.
Right.
But a close second is Visiting Bremovich at the end, in Paris. It doesn't do anything except exposition. It's bad. It's bad movie making.
Yeah.
It's not just bad decision. It's just bad movie making.
Yeah. The rating's going to be based on 1 to 5 park benches, 1 being no realism whatsoever, absolutely ridiculous, never had happened in a million years, to a 5, which is the most realistic, you know, probably one of those history documentaries you've seen, would be a 5, is what we're looking at.
To me, Atomic Blonde is almost a quintessential 3 park benches. It's you got a solid setting, you've got some good history going on, but you've also got some weird disconnected means and motives that I think really drag the movie down from where it could have been, accuracy wise.
Right. And again, this was a comic book, and it was filmed like most comic book films are filmed. There's like just enough of realism, but just enough of like, this is a little far-fetched.
I think it's a ridiculous story, well told.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think we should give it the 3 treatment.
Okay.
I don't want to put it on the level of Miss Sloane.
No, definitely not.
All right.
Not even close. And that's the end of our show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at spies_like_us. Visit us on our website at www.spieslikeus.net. You know, find out about upcoming episodes. Also, what will really help us out is if you give us a review on wherever you found our podcast, either on iTunes or your Android app or YouTube or wherever you listen to us. Even if you didn't like the show, just give us a review. It'll help us, give us feedback so we can make the show better. And it can also help other people who haven't found the show yet find out about us. Hey, Moira, initiate Protocol 9.
Protocol 9 initiated. This podcast will self-destruct in 20 seconds. The preceding transmission sampled the songs Ice Cold by Audionautics, Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net. Editing by Todd Hostetler.